Hey, everybody, welcome back to Divas, Diamonds, and Dollars podcast. This is the podcast for bold women, multipreneurs who are making their mark and making their money on their own terms. I am your host, Larisa Troche. My co host is actually out. She had a little incident when she was traveling, and I'll let her tell you about that upon her return. I was going to tell you that she took a spill when she was breakdancing, but I thought I better leave it to her to explain what happened. Anywho, what I want to talk to you about today is, as we are heading into the last months of the year, how can we finish strong? And I mean both, or not both. Uh, I mean personally, professionally, and frankly, socially. And to answer that question today, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things that really came up, but they all kind of revolve around cycles, culture, and what it really means to finish the year strong. And although this will be slightly different from our usual type of convo, I thought it was all connected. Let me know what you think at the end, if you can see how this ties into our theme for this month, which is finishing the year strong. And, I will say that I'm not just talking about our goals that we set at the beginning of the year or the beginning of the quarter. We're also talking about the forces, if you will, that shape how we thrive or don't. Hmm? So, because here's the truth, even when you're working hard and doing all the right things, there are other forces at play, really. And not making a movie tonight, but think about it. We have generational shifts, cultural changes, to be sure, social tides, and those can all impact the outcome and or the timing of the goals that we have set for ourselves. And I really was inspired to do this particular episode. Diamond Ed, it will be a shorty. So tell me, do you too notice there's a bit of a change in the air, a bit of a nip, if you will? So let's discuss. When you understand, if you will, these mystery forces, and I hope to demystify them by the time we finish talking, you can plan accordingly. And by that, we mean you can finish the year strong. And it, I don't know which one came first, but I will say I came across an article recently. It was on earth.com, and I'll put the link in the description. But what it talked about was how culture actually more, more is a greater influence than our genes in terms of how we evolve or how humanity evolves over time. It's not just our DNA, it's the culture that we are surrounded with that will impact whether we thrive and or not so much. And think about it. It's not just your willpower, your talent, or even, as I already said, your DNA. It's the culture you're living in, and to some degree, the culture that you're creating. How proactive are you in creating a quote unquote desirable culture? We talk about work culture, and I don't know if we think about it besides what type of company culture we have, right? But I think today is a really good time to give that some thought and to think about the kind of culture you want to surround yourself with, because we already know that the people we spend our time with will really impact how we feel and how much we achieve and where we go in life. And when we say when well, clearly I'm no theologian, no historian, but we talk about your culture involves your routines, your environment, your community for sure, and definitely your mindset. I think they're all linked together. And if you remember way once upon a time, probably when I started this conversation, maybe it's in my upcoming book, I never spent a lot of time in introspection. I was just out there, like most folks, just living my life, doing the do. But I say I've got lately, there's a lot more to think about. So I am paying a bit more attention, and it's resonating and having an impact. And of course, I'm thinking about, how I respond to that and still feel good about my days. So culture isn't just what's happening out in the world, it's what you practice. And the beautiful part, if you will, frankly, it evolves fast. This world is changing so fast, and I feel this is one part of growing up, I suppose, that maybe I don't mind so much is that I can see all the changes that have taken place because I've been here for more than a minute. It evolves fast, it's adaptable, and to some degree, you can say it responds. I think if there's enough of us trying to sway movement in one direction or the other, there is a response. So that means you can influence your outcomes by shaping the culture around you. I've already said you cannot live life on autopilot. You must be an active participant in your life. I think we're going to have to take a break here and get some water. I will be right back. So, as I said, there were two things that happened. If I didn't say it, there were two things that happened. One of which was that article on earth.com about the way culture impacts our uh, evolution more so than our DNA. And the second thing that I saw was a video by Andre Jake. I've mentioned him before. He talks a lot about money. And I suppose this video was also about money, but it was more about maybe the cyclical changes that are going on right now. We are in the period of what's called the fourth turning. And I don't know if I heard about that. I want to say that I probably studied this in high school. I really don't know, but I think it's very interesting. And the reason I'm oversharing on this part, because I really hope you look it up and check it out yourself, because it's fascinating. But the gist of it is, it is, well, frankly, it's a time of crisis. And depending on which side of the table you sit on, you might feel that we are in a time of crisis. I'm on the yes, we are side. And essentially, the cycles, what do you call economic cycles, societal cycles, they go in waves of 20 odd years. And I will say, when I looked at it a little bit more closely, because I wanted to be able to quote it for you, was that it should, this particular, we're in the fourth turning, if I didn't say that, it should end in the early 2030s. So I guess I really just need to hold on for a little bit longer. I thought I had to live out another 20 years, and that's not guaranteed, folks. But anyhow, anyway, it is by, let me see if I can find his name. Hold on, because this is very important. I don't know where I put that. According to Neil Howe and the Strauss-Howe generational theory, the current fourth turning is predicted to end sometime in the early 2030s. This period of crisis, which began with the Great Recession in 2008, will culminate in a significant societal event similar to past fourth turnings, because there are four cycles in every 80 to 100 years, which concluded with major conflicts like the American Revolution, Civil War, and World War II. So this climax will involve the destruction of weak institutions and lead to the emergence of a new social order, potentially ushering in another new golden age. Now, that was a lot, but I thought it was important, and I have not mastered the whiteboard yet, so I can't show you the charts that had each 20-year cycle, first, second, third, and fourth turning, which described, the things that are happening. But the thing that for me, the importance is that sometimes when the world's a little bit crazy, I just need answers. And so I start paying a little bit more attention. I start reading and studying. And of course, choose your sources, sure. But we all want the crazy to make sense. And I know that sentence didn't make sense, but you're looking for answers, right? And that's where we are today. So I still talked about the video. So the fourth turning is a time of crisis. The old ways break down. Institutions lose trust. And I think that's probably very blatant or very clear for most of us. Uncertainty rises. That's a guarantee. These are uncertain times. But it's also, if you will, let's turn to the brighter side. It's a precursor to new birth. Let's breathe a sigh of relief. After the chaos comes the renewal. Okay. Maybe we're going to be okay. So I think if you believe in the turnings, let's just say we do. We are currently in the fourth turning, and what matters is it helps explain why you might feel like you're doing all the right things, but you're either A, not getting the results, or they're not happening fast enough, right? Look, I am working my butt off. How come I haven't arrived yet? We all have those questions, or we have those days, and sometimes those days turn into weeks or months of, what the hey. So The reason, if you will, big picture speak, is that systems are changing, realigning into new positions, new connections, if you will. So it's if you believe in this or follow this turning theory, it's a generational cycle theory. Um, you have high, awakening, unraveling, and now the fourth is crisis. We're in a crisis, folks. I'm just going to go out and say that's my personal opinion. You do not need to send any nastrograms. That's what I'm saying. So the fourth turning, we already said 18 times, period of crisis, upheaval where institutional structures are challenged and remade. After that often comes a high where there's a new order that's established. And, again, most of us, we just all want to live our lives and we're not trying to stir the pot to any great degree. But, you know, we're living in the land of opportunity where we like to see some of those opportunities come to pass for ourselves. And so, again, looking for answers and frankly understanding so that we can adjust our actions accordingly. So the idea is that society goes through recurring cycles of stability, the challenge to redefinition, and then of course the tipping point where we're pivot, right? Tipping point pivot is like, all right, enough of the nonsense, let's do this, and we sally forth. So we just need to hang in there a little bit longer. So at the end of the day, I hope that it's provided some understanding if you're feeling like we're in this whirlwind of what the hey. So I don't want you to blame yourself and just consider what does this actually mean? First of all, prepare yourself, right? So you have this backstory of the whys and the wherefores. So what do you do next? We already said cultural evolution happens quickly. And the fourth turning, I'm going to say, is real. So here's the key. You have to design your culture, if you will, to withstand the chaos and support your goals. Because at the end of the day, we can only control what we control, which is what? A, our own actions, and B, how we respond to the actions of others. You have to design, whether you, I don't want to say create a vision board, that's not what I'm trying to say. It's like, look, you can't always just rely on motivation. You have to build meaningful rituals that can support you as you are adjusting to, well, frankly, the new world order. And don't just set goals, right? I've seen this like several times recently on YouTube, if you will. It's like, don't create goals, create systems. How can you create an environment of success that what you are striving for will actually happen? Is you have to create systems to make them so. And by that I mean, we talk about first of all writing down your goals and checking in each quarter and just breaking things down. But what are the daily actions and activities that you need to take in a repeated fashion so that you are steadily moving forward, marching onward towards those goals and frankly new goals as you achieve the old ones. So you have to create a system, a repeatable process so that your desired outcomes will happen. And again, I hope that you understand I'm not just saying hustle and grind for the sake of hustle and grind because, ooh, that's a grind. You have to I track, if you will, the tides, and I hope that's a visual for you. Tide is like the water comes in, the water comes out, the water comes in, the water comes out. There's an ebb and flow of the tides, and that is really how life is. It is not always giggles and sherry. Sometimes, or peaks and valleys, whatever you want to say. So really pay attention. You have to recognize patterns so that you can, again, first of all, see your growth, but then also know which directions you need to take because sometimes, I said, you need to be flexible. You need to learn how to bob and weave, if you will. I know I have all these little sayings, but I'm trying to create a picture for you on how you want to make your adjustments so that you come out on top. That's really what I'm trying to get you to do, is come out on top. And most importantly, sometimes it's not just a matter of working harder because, we can all, honestly be working hard, but if you're working in the wrong direction, that's not going to help, right? So you have to be systematic, you have to be focused, and you have to pay attention so that you can, well, I hate to say it, but you want to work smarter, not harder, because there's a lot of things that are going on that you don't have control over. But again, it's how you respond to the things that you don't have control over that will make the difference. And one of my favorite sayings, annoying but true, is that life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. So sometimes you need to step back. You need to take a look around. You have to pay attention. I don't want you to live in fear. I just want you to be aware so you know what you need to do to take care of you. And then you adjust your expectations and your timeline accordingly. And folks, that does not mean you are quitting. That means you are in the know and you're like, okay, so this happened. That means I need to do X, Y, and Z. You just need to know what's going on. You don't have to get sucked into the doom scroll because, that's just going to make you sad. But you do need to pay enough attention so that you can make informed decisions. You want to know what's going on. And the next thing coming down the pipeline, is that good for you, or is that something that you just want to, on time for all that? I'm going to go over here. That's probably your best answer. Just, I don't have time for all that. I'll be over here. So what do you want to do? I'm going to suggest that I can say redefine strong. I don't know. I mean, I was having a conversation at work about my new managers who are helping me grow, helping me be more patient. And, you can think about the differences between the sexes or not, but being strong doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be superwoman. I guess maybe that was where I was going. So it does not mean you have to do all the things. It doesn't mean you have to be everything to everyone. First of all, you can't. So don't exhaust yourself trying. So really redefine what strength means for yourself, because sometimes that means you might need to simplify things. And simplify sometimes means something's got to go or someone has to go. And you just need to take a look at it and see what that really looks like. It maybe it isn't crushing every single goal that you set way, way back there in January, because like I said, the reason we tried this year to talk about splitting up your goals into quarters is because as life happens, sometimes things change. So you don't have to be married to everything all the time. And when I say everything, I mean you started out maybe with a long list at the beginning of the year, and then as the year goes on, things change. You have other interests and or different satisfactions and different goals. So it's okay to switch it up. And where we talked about designing your culture, but that also means auditing your culture. Are your routines helping or hindering you? Are your relationships fueling or draining you? We all know those people. As soon as you see them come through the door, your body just goes into defense mode. It's like, oh no, I don't have time to deal with this. So sometimes you do need to make that relationship audit, edit, if you will, and make a micro shift. And again, look, I think that women are powerful. We're strong, and most days we can do all the things. But sometimes it's okay to not do them all at once. So that might mean making a micro shift to make small adjustments, tweaks. Sometimes it's the little things, well, it is the little things that really matter because they add up. But just take a step back, because as we're wrapping up this year, hopefully it's been a good year for you. Hopefully you've learned a lot, made some more money, met some good people. And I'm not suggesting that you coast, because we still have time to have an impactful year, but I am suggesting that maybe it's okay if you just, take baby steps before your big leaps. Sometimes it does not have to be, leaping tall buildings every day. That's exhausting. And even in the times of cray, it's going to be my new phrase. It's the times of cray. During times of cray, we can finish strong, because what? You have to finish intentionally. We know there's a whirlwind of change going on. Just stay the course and really consider what is important, and just focus on the important things, the important people, and the parts that you can control, not that hurricane of activity that's swirling around you. Anywho, so I just want to remind you, I will post the link to the article and to the video in the description because I hope you will check it out. I was just trying to give you a quick summary during today's conversation because I think it's important that we stay on the path, but I wanted you to know that I just want to acknowledge out loud. Maybe this is as much for me as it is for you. I'm just acknowledging that there's a lot going on, and it is for me. It is very distressful because I'm paying too much attention, honestly. But I do want to back off of that and kind of focus on the things that are still important to me. And I'm hoping you will step back from the crane and then kind of focus on the things that you have set your sights on so that you can finish the year strong. And like I said at the beginning, I think it's just sometimes you want to, when things are unusual, I have a curious mind. I just want to know the whys and the wherefores, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. That's that, and this is this. This is where I'm going. So here's your challenge for the week. Pick one, uno, never mind my manicure. Pick one thing in your personal culture, if you will, that needs to evolve and maybe just make a small shift. Maybe it's more structure. Maybe it's more softness. Are you too hard on yourself? More connection for sure. And I would say more clarity. But pick one again. You're not trying to do all the things all the time. Pick something incremental and make those changes. Small ones at a time. So, as always, I do want to thank you for listening. Hopefully, this was quick as intended, just a little diamondette episode. And tell me in the comments, what little thing are you going to tweet? And tell me, are you going to check out the fourth turning or not? You don't even have to know. I already summarized it for you. That's not important. Now that you are aware, what do you want to focus on to get you through the next couple of months? What little tweak or what change do you feel like you need to make? Message me below. I would love to hear and support you on your journey. And I will leave you with a Divalicious pro tip, which is make a plan and work your plan. That's what all you can do. Just make your plan, work your plan. It will come to pass. And I feel like it's really even more important today. So the fourth turning, honestly, it is a time of crisis, but it is also a time of great innovation and transformation. You too can benefit from the innovation and the transformation that's coming. It's a little scary right now, at least for some of us, but it doesn't have to all be bad because, technology can support you on your journey. So, yes, there's the hurricane, but, think about the eye of the storm and what your next steps will be. And with that, thank you so much for visiting, and we will see you next time. Ciao.